No, I don't make New Year's resolutions in those ways. I do take the time in the beginning of the year to assess, right? And in more general terms, I think this is a constant process, but certainly in those, whether it's the Lunar New Year that we celebrate or the Gregorian New Year, to really look at life as a whole. And the question that I always ask, which I think is an important frame within which our listeners as well can think about their lives and the new year, we think it's kind of silly because human history tells us this is not the case, that we have limitless time within which to accomplish, within which to do. I think the framing of the question should be one should assume they have limited time. Not that I have 80 years to accomplish whatever it is that I have on my long to-do list, but let's assume a person only has 6 months, 9 months, a year. What are the most important things to get done? What are the most important things to be focused on? What are the most important things not to be focused on?
By the way, that's the same Kabbalistic idea of people tend to live their lives in terms of weeks, months, years, when in fact we're meant to live in days, because each day has its own unique energy, and what you can achieve in this day can only be achieved in this day. That's not to say that tomorrow you won't have new opportunities, but I think far too often people write days off. And I talk about this a lot, that they had a horrible day, they got stuck in traffic, or maybe they got in a car accident, or maybe they didn't get the deal they wanted and the day is just ruined, or maybe they lost their temper with their children. And then they just wait until it's 5 o'clock so they can go to happy hour, or they can just zone out and watch the television and then start tomorrow because tomorrow's a new day. When in fact, you can restart your day at any given time. So really we're meant, and I think that in terms of resolutions, if you look at, wow, you're given another 365 days, are you going to spend each and every day?
And I think, again, thinking of it in a limited space, usually we like to talk about thinking in limitless ways, which is also important. But I think
meaning like in a year, I'll achieve blah, blah, blah.
Right. If I only had a year, if a person only had a year, I think it's a much different frame than, I have another, 50 years. But this year, I'd like to do that. That's a different framing. And into that type of planning, all kinds of distractions can enter. I think what happens when you think about limited time, if this was a person's last 12 months, it's a completely different frame and different choices. You will only focus on what is supremely important. You won't be distracted by so much of the silliness that we get distracted and enveloped in throughout our lives.